What's happening, everybody? I am the Nickel City Nightmare, Derek JoLEp2, and this is the Jaws of Life. Alright guys, we're going to bounce right into this right away. No fancy introductions, no nothing. We're going to jump right into the topics. My first topic is something that I found the other day that absolutely confused the ever-loving shit out of me. Alright? Apparently, shortly after the Super Bowl, maybe during the Super Bowl at some point, there was a woman out there who decided to pitch the idea of Doritos for women. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. Okay, so her reasoning behind Doritos, a potato chip, wanting to gear, like of her wanting Doritos to gear their chips toward women in a branding of chips for women, was threefold. Number one, women don't like crunching loudly in public. 2, women don't like licking their fingers clean after eating Doritos. And 3, women don't like tipping the bag back to get the full effect of the last chunk of glory that is Doritos at the bottom of the bag. I have a couple questions with this. Okay. What kind of chip do you want to eat that doesn't crunch? Okay. This is a legit question here. I've never eaten a potato chip that doesn't crunch. And if you have, it's either stale or soggy. I don't know if anybody wants to eat chips that are like that. You know, they kind of just like in your mouth. Or like, that's a gross noise. You're welcome. Everybody who hated that, you're welcome. But imagine that. Imagine putting that noise with a chip. Okay? Oh, look, this awesome bag of Doritos. Ugh. You don't want to crunch, but you want to make that noise when you bite into something? No, thank you. Okay? Second, they don't want to lick their fingers. You know, it would be cool if we could create something that would make it so you didn't have to, like, lick your fingers clean after eating something. Like a napkin, or a wet nap, or a paper towel, or a sink. Or if you're really feeling squirrely, you could probably use a water fountain. Just push the button with one hand and wash the other one and then fucking switch it up. And I mean, if you're living in Buffalo, go just snow. I do it when I hunt. It works. I mean, what are we really talking about here? And I'm sorry, if you're embarrassed to open a bag of chips, Doritos in this case, eat all the chippy goodness, and at the bottom of the bag you see that glorious pile of crumblies, and you feel embarrassed or ashamed to prop that sumbitch open the right way, to create the funnel effect, to lift the bag of chips, to get what's at the bottom of the barrel into your mouth, I don't know if I want to be friends with you. Because if that embarrasses you, what else embarrasses you? Are you afraid of, like, slurping the bottom of your drink? Are you afraid to, like, really tip back to get that last couple drops of a frosty cold one? What are we talking about here? I mean, and, okay, so you don't like doing those things. I mean, and there are ways to, like, quietly eat chips. You know, I was in college once, and, you know, you're eating a snack, you're being disrupted, the teacher yelled at you. So you had to find a way to very quietly consume whatever you were eating, and it didn't matter what it was. Whether it was something that was silent to eat, like biting into a sandwich, or if you were one of these people like, oh, I got to run to the vending machine, I'm going to go grab a bag of pretzels or a bag of chips, or the ye old Doritos in question here. You had to learn how to eat quietly. So, like, I mean, who's really going and just and just powering through their day and then like, oh, this is kind of embarrassing. You know, I probably shouldn't eat chips this way. I'm sorry, what? And again, like, get a napkin, get a paper towel, a roll of toilet paper. You, like, give somebody a hug and use their back. I don't know, but, like, what are we talking about here? They're too messy and they're too loud. They're chips. What are they supposed to be? Yeah, you buy sour cream and onion chips, you still get the stuff on your hands. Barbecue chips are the same way. Different brands of Doritos, one just doesn't turn your phalanges all orange. And in all the time that I've spent really thinking about this stuff and like really like rolling through my brain piece, about where this whole thing comes from, and like what you could do to solve this. Okay, and I want the $1,000,000 idea on this. If Doritos happens to see this, or somebody who knows somebody who knows a guy who knows a guy, because you know the whole 7 degrees of separation thing. I have a thought, except I'm pretty sure it's already been done, but I'm not sure, so we're gonna go with it. A snack cut into triangles that you can eat individually, doesn't crunch, doesn't leave residue on your fingers, and you don't have to worry about tipping the container that it was in up to get what was left of it. Kind of like a cheese, just cheese triangles in a bag. Open the bag, eat the cheese triangles. It might help you cut down on your carbs too. Doritos, cheese triangles in a bag. Find a way that they don't need to be refrigerated. I can just keep that bitch on the shelf in the corner and be like, you know what? I want the Dorito-y goodness without the mess. Find a way to triangle your cheese and your flavors into that, and just market it as cheese. I guess my real issue with this whole thing is like, I mean, okay, maybe there's some guys out there that don't like the crunchy, messy, crumbly glory of the Doritos or other form of chippy snack. So why does this just have to be a for women thing? Also, I really want to know, like, if I'm friends with anybody, like if somebody sees this on social media, somebody sees this via YouTube or like Facebook, wherever you see this, and these are concerns of yours, let me know. I want to know. I got to know. Am I off base here? Like, the couple people I've talked to about this are like, what? I want to eat Doritos. I want the messy, crumbly, crunchy glory. Because that's why you eat Doritos. Otherwise, you'd be eating cheese. But this whole movement that everything needs to be geared toward who you're marketing it toward, I don't get it. I mean, Doritos made a fantastic reply to this. Like, this whole thing started getting traction, and then the Doritos Twitter put a tweet out that said, this is a fantastic idea. It's something we've actually been doing for years. We've been making Doritos for women since the company opened. They're called Doritos, and they're enjoyed by millions. Like, why are we getting to a place in the world where we have to like consider every single possible alternative? I'm gonna make a bread, but I'm gonna make my bread so specific that like I'm gonna have my bread for women, for men, for children, for teens, for preteens, for post-teens, for young adults, old adults, senior citizens. I'm gonna make an AARP loaf. I mean, are we really getting to that point in this world? I have to know. Because, I mean, I was born and raised in a world where, like, if you didn't like something, you didn't have that thing. Or, like, you know what? Sometimes I really like eating a really, really sloppy cheeseburger. But when I'm dressed up in, like, a shirt and tie for a function of some kind, I'm probably not going to wolf down that big, greasy cheeseburger, because you're going to end up with greasy cheeseburger stuff on your face and potentially your clothing. Like, you probably go with something a little safer that's not as messy. So, I mean, if you're worried about doing this in public, maybe you just enjoy Doritos not in public. Like, why should this company be forced to, like, spend millions on something, or feel they should need, or even have somebody tell them that they should spend the millions of dollars to solve these three problems that you have with the Dorito snack to fit your mold of what you want people to see in public? This is legitimately a question of mine. Somebody, help me out here. Like, and who doesn't like Doritos in public? All right, everybody, welcome back. Now to my next topic, and you'll notice wardrobe change. In the middle of shooting the last segment, I noticed that there was a grease stain about yonder on my shirt. And instead of going and reshooting the whole thing, I just decided to be real with you guys. You know what? Didn't have to do it. I got time. I could have reshot. But you know what? I'm sitting here preaching about stuff about being real, especially last episode. So I'm just going to be straight up with you. I'm going to be real with you. I switched up hoodies and we're back. So now that that's wardrobe change number 1 in an episode, and I'm not going to do like a 21 dress challenge or anything like that, so calm the fuck down. On to my next topic. False or fake positivity. All right. There is nothing on this planet that drives me crazier than watching some sad sack asshole try to preach positivity. All right. And I don't care what the reason for it is. I don't care if you're trying to convince yourself. I don't care if you're trying to convince others. I don't care if you've convinced yourself that you being fakely positive, especially on social media, the old Facebook machine. I don't care if you believe that this is somehow helping the world. Because, you know what? Somebody might see that and be like, huh, I needed that uplifting, you know, that uplifting whoosh for the day. But you know what? The second they see you in public and you're, and you're a sad sack piece of crap, they're going to look and be like, what happened to the Prince of Positivity over here? I don't get it. Like, was he just having a bad day? But then they see you the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and you just look like a friggin' liar. All right? Here's my thing. If you're not having a good day, if you're in a bad spot, there's nothing wrong with letting people know that you're in a bad way. You know what? I have plenty of friends out there who go out there and they'll say, you know what, made it back to the gym today. It's been a while. I've been in a rough spot, but I'm back and I got to push through. You know what? That's being real. We've all been there. Every single one of us has been there. Whether it's getting your ass up to go to work, getting your ass up to go to the gym, going to play a sport, going to an art function, like whatever it is that you may do that like you're just not feeling at that time or in that place. And now all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're like, this is something I need to do. Is like, I'll be honest with you, going through it a little bit myself right now. All right, I had a little bit of a lull, a lot of some things that have happened and whatnot. It happens. I'm not out there telling you how positive I am and how fucking fantastic the world is all the time. You know what? Sometimes the world sucks. So eventually, when you're one of these people that just pumps positivity, false, fake positivity, there's like eventually the world just looks at you and goes, "You're lying. You're full of crap." You know why? Because we all know that the real world sucks sometimes. There's no way you keep your head up that high all the time. All right? It's one thing to keep your eyes on the prize. It's one thing to keep moving forward. But to sit there and lie to people every day that everything's awesome and everything's fantastic, it's all good in the hood. No. Fuck that. You're a liar. You're a fucking liar and I don't like you. Okay? You know who some of the, one of the most real people I've ever seen is? My buddy's dad, Tony. Tony is, and here's my shameless shout out of the episode. Apparently it happens in segment 3 all the time. The second full segment, third segment overall. Last weekend, it was the soccer thing with the call out to somebody. This week, Tony Sekaterski, one of the realest people I've seen on social media. You know why? Because he just tells it how it is. Every day he has words of wisdom, but you know what? They're funny as shit. They're outlandish. They're out there. There's things you'd never think of. And you know what? Every day I laugh at it. Every day I look forward. I don't look forward to it. It's not like I wake up like, ooh, what did Tony say? But there's days I pop up and I see it and I'm like, ha, that's great. That's awesome. I love it. You know what? That's who Tony is in real life. That's my man. That's my main man right there. Every time you see him, he's making jokes. He's cracking wise. And you know what? Sometimes he gets a little angry and flies off the handle, like we all do. I've seen it happen. Sometimes on a baseball field. And drops one of the most epic lines I've ever heard in somebody getting ejected, telling an umpire that throwing him out was the best call he made all day. Fantastic. I love it. Use it. Love it. Anyway, that's who you need to be. Be who you are. And this is me. This is me. I'll tell you how it is. I'll tell you how I feel, where I'm at. And I think the world could use more of this. Because you know what the dark side of false positivity is? When you look at somebody and you're down and you're out and you look and you say, you know what? All I see every day is this person, him, her, whoever it is, just posting this obnoxiously positive crap all the time, what am I doing wrong that my life can't be positive and awesome all the time? Like, you're trying to help, but you may be digging the hole deeper. You know what? Share me the inspirational story of how you fell in the shit and you've been clawing your way out of this shit for a day, a week, a month, 6 months, a year. I don't give a fuck. As long as you keep clawing, be real. Share that story, because you know what? That's the shit that inspires me. I would rather talk to somebody who's in the shit and fighting to get out every fucking day than somebody who's in the shit and lying to me about not being in the shit. You know why? Because the person that's in the shit and telling you they're in the shit and clawing and fighting and digging to get out of the shit, that's the asshole that's not going to quit on you. The asshole that pretends to be up here when he's down here, when all of a sudden you come down here, he's going to be the guy that's like, you know what, I can't. I got nothing for you. I can't help you. All right? I mean, be the guy that's, or the girl, or the person, or the hermaphroditic dragonfly that is here to help. And, hey, listen, I'm there too. You know what? I'm fighting to get out of the shit. And when I'm out of the shit, I'm going to be up here and extending a hand down to try to help anybody out of the shit I can. But when I'm down here and I'm trying to get there, I'm still trying to extend hands and get people back up there where they want to be, where they need to be. You know what? That's what this world needs. I don't need preachers who claim to be on top of the mountain all the time. Because nobody's on top of the mountain all the time. And again, when you're lying about being here and you're actually down here, you're not willing to help anybody get back up there because you're trying to get there yourself. Instead of saying, let's go do this together, you know what? I need some help today. I reach for, I look at a buddy, hey man, I'm fighting it. I'm struggling. You know what? I know that dude that I'm reaching out to is going to reach that hand back and help me up the same way works the other way. You know what? And that's being real. That's just living in the world the way it is. This false positivity crap. And you know what? And it's funny because these people post these things and then you can look through and you can read through it in their bullshit. And you may not even know that they're in the crap. All right? There's some people I know that are in the crap and post positive shit all the time and yay, powering forward, life is awesome. And then you're like, I saw you yesterday and you were drinking your problems away. All right, and that's not necessarily directed at anybody in particular, okay? So don't get all your panties in a bunch and shit. I'm just saying, I've seen this. This has happened. You're telling me how fantastic shit is, and then you're, digging yourself out of a gutter the next day because, waking up doing the walk of shame home from some dude's house that you don't know in some town that you don't live in and trying to figure out where the fuck you parked your car. But your power of positivity, everything's awesome, right? All right? I'm not going to lie, kind of got a little tangent-y there and lost my train of thought. Oh, so when you see these people's posts, yeah, and I'm going to leave that in there too, by the way. This isn't going to be edited. I'm going to leave that little brain fart in there, okay? When these people, when they post these things, all of a sudden you can start reading through it, okay? You can start seeing things like, oh, you know what song really pisses me off? Insert super positive, awesome song. A classic. I don't like this song. But you're the most positive person ever, and that's one of the most positive songs in the world. If you were this uber positive person and you tell me that, you really hate this super sad, depressing breakup song, yeah, I feel that. I dig that. But you tell me you're the super positive, awesome person, and you tell me that, you don't like the song Shot to the Heart, You're to Blame, You Give Love a Bad Name. You know what? It may not be the most positive lyrics. I'm not naming that asshole because he almost moved my bills to Canada. But something like that that's like a pump-up song, and you're like, oh, I don't like that song. But you're a positive person. Guess what? That's a hype song. That gets people up. Where do you want to be when you're a positive person? Up. You can't tell me that, Don't Stop Believing is I hate that song. But positivity! No. That doesn't work. I'm getting lost in my thoughts here because this infuriates the crap out of me. And eventually these people break down to these people that go I'm awesome, I suck. I'm awesome, I suck. Life is sweet, life sucks. Life is sweet, life sucks. And then they do this, and then you're like, oh my God, I need a drink. Somebody give me some Motrin because I have a headache from all these ups and downs. What's vertigo feel like? All right. Unfilter your life, and for fuck's sake, be real. That's all the world needs right now. The world needs some real ass motherfuckers out there. That's it. That's what we need. Real people. Living in the real world, not some sheltered bubble that tries to convince the world that everything is sunshine and fucking rainbows. Because guess what? It's not. Okay? The faster we all learn that, the faster we're all going to learn to dig out of the shit and appreciate the good shit in life. All right, guys, for my next segment here, I'm going to take some time to talk about a little bit of the UFC and the WWE. Now, up until really Brock Lesnar, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about the two in the same conversation. You know, one's purely entertainment and one is a sport. And it seems recently that we've been seeing more and more of the sport side of UFC leaning more toward the entertainment side of UFC. It seems like it's become more and more like boxing. And I know there's been a lot of reports recently that like the UFC with their ranking systems and stuff doesn't really make sense, because you see a guy sit at the number one contender and not get a fight for a year and a half. And meanwhile, the champion is defending against like the 5, 7, and 12 guy in the rankings. And it's because, you know, and you see guys coming back from like a 3, 4, 5 year hiatus or like half retirement and coming back and getting a title fight, but then winning said title fight, which is just, I don't get it. I mean, I don't know. But they're trying to put matchups together that are going to sell more tickets as opposed to putting matchups against, you know, the guys who deserve it, like through the ranking system, which if you're going to have a ranking system, what's the point if you're not going to follow it? What's the point if your number one fighter in the weight class isn't going to take on the champion of the weight class? You know, barring an injury of some kind. Like, I don't know. It confuses me. And like I said, until Brock Lesnar, you couldn't really talk about the WWE and the UFC in the same sentence. And then, you know, Brock went from being the youngest WWE champion ever to being the first and only human being on the planet to win the NCAA Heavyweight Championship, the WWE's Heavyweight Championship, which again, we all know is scripted, but still, and then the UFC Heavyweight Championship. And now there's a lot of talk about Ronda Rousey going the WWE route. Look, I was a big Ronda fan, and I'm not going to lie to you, I still am. The things that I'm not a fan of is the way she handled herself after her 2 losses. First off, in my opinion, she went into a fight against a world-renowned striker, being a world-renowned judo player and having won most of, if not almost all of her fights on the ground. And somewhere in her coaching staff's brain, they said, we want you, an Olympian in judo, to stand up and kickbox this world champion kickboxer. And it got her head taken off. And after that, she came back again and decided to try another stand-up fight against another stand-up fighter and lost again after a 2-year break. I believe it was around 2 years. And now she's going to WWE. All right, she came out at the Royal Rumble, pointed at the old WrestleMania sign over yonder, and a lot of people have been giving her a lot of flack for it. You know, a lot of current fighters, a lot of people who follow the sport, a lot of people who are UFC fans, even your, we'll call them Sunday morning quarterbacks for the UFC, because most UFC fights are on Fridays or Saturday nights. You know, your you know, the guys who look at the film and think they know and, you know, have never stepped in the cage but are going to tell you exactly how, when, where, and why something happened in the cage. And a lot of people have been giving Ronda a lot of shit for what she's doing. And you know what? She may not have gone out on top. She may not have handled herself the right way when it comes down to her, the way she, you know, her decorum after her 2 losses, going into seclusion, going into hiding, like, but at the same time, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the things that people said about, I believe it was Daniel Cormier or Cormier. I never pronounce his name right, and I really, whatever, you can correct me on that one. But in his loss to John Bones Jones, after the fact, he was in tears, and a lot of people were calling him a bitch and a pussy and everything else. And my issue with that is, until you've gone through a fight camp and done what these guys do to that level, I mean, really to any level, any kind of weight cut's a pain in the ass. It's hell, it's torture, whatever you want to call it. And you're talking to a guy who's fought almost exclusively in the super heavyweight division, so I've never had to actually hit a weight. So I understand. I'm even talking out of school here. I'm talking, having not had to hit that 265 mark yet. But again, as you've heard me talk, I'm working on that. And you don't understand what goes into stuff like this, and to go and in Ronda's case, end up with an injury. The way, I mean, her, again, damn near got her head cleaned off, and having been someone who's had concussions and who has, had their bell rung a few times, being an offensive lineman, it's kind of what we do to each other. You don't really know how that's going to affect you and how you're going to bounce back, especially the first time you have one, if you've never actually had one. And especially, I mean, we all remember the pictures of her face. I mean, she was jacked up. And, I mean, after another fight coming out, having a similar result. And, I mean, these people, like, we belittle them for moving to a safer profession. We've all seen accidents and injuries in professional wrestling, if you're a fan. But, I mean, we've even seen actors get hurt doing a stunt for a movie. Jackie Chan has broken his leg doing stunts for movies. Some of these stuntmen get scars and, different mutilations and stuff. But can you really blame somebody for concerning themselves with their well-being and their future and taking a safer venture to make potentially more money? I mean, Brock Lesnar is one of the more higher paid WWE superstars from what anybody can tell. And he works select dates. I don't remember the last time he was in a free televised match. He comes to the bigger pay-per-views and like a couple of the smaller ones. And he's been the champion since last year. I think the dude's doing pretty well for himself. And now, after getting some time off and, fully getting healthy from his illness and stuff, they're talking that he might go back to the UFC. But can you really blame Ronda for going to the WWE where she's been a fan her whole life? She obviously, she was two WrestleManias ago, maybe 3. She came out and had a WrestleMania moment where she, hip tossed Stephanie McMahon and everything with, her and The Rock were partying in the ring together, and it was this grand old time. Can you really blame her for going that route? Can you really blame, and now there's talk that Conor McGregor might go that way, that after, if this fight with Mayweather round 2 in the octagon goes down, that he might opt to take a career where instead of selling these mixed fight matches and stuff like that, he's actually going to go, there's talk that eventually he's bound to sign with WWE, even though he talks shit about it and everything else, and he was one of the biggest loudmouths about people who are not real fighters and whatnot. And we all know that there's, a good number of people in professional wrestling that are actually legitimate badasses, and a good chunk of them who actually do and have fought mixed martial arts careers before entering the ring or during the time in the ring, between your Lesnars and your Bobby Lashleys. And there's a bunch of guys that do it in Japan and stuff. And I mean, you don't think Conor McGregor eventually people are going to get tired of him? I mean, after a while, you're not going to have a legitimate claim anymore in a legitimate combat sport. You lost a boxing match to one of the best ever, at least defensively the best ever. And now you're going to maybe take him on in an octagon, which by all rights, you should take him down and break his leg. And then you have not defended either title you won in how long? And how much longer are you going to be able to sit there and do nothing with your belts before they strip you of them? And then, you're going to be out of legit fight practice and everything else for actual contenders in the cage. And you're going to get older, but you're still going to need those millions and millions of dollars of paychecks that you've been so used to. So you don't think that that's a cash draw right there? Because I don't see McGregor going into Hollywood. I don't see him going into movies. I mean, that's a tough transition, I think, for a guy like him. And I don't know how many people want to see that Fuker on the big screen playing how many different versions of a scrappy white fighter. And it'll get boring after a while. At least The Rock has depth. Okay? So my issue here is like how do you belittle these people? How do you look at somebody like Ronda who has gotten pretty messed up her 2 fights and says, you know what, I want to take a safer route in my life to make money, to still capitalize on the name and the fame and everything else, make the money I can make, and do it without potentially having severe brain damage for the rest of my life, especially after everybody's up in arms about, the post-concussion syndrome and CTE and everything else. How do you blame her for that? I wish she would have went out on a better note. I wish she would have come out and said, whatever, that would have made her losses seem more gracious. Because being a sore loser is not something I'm a big fan of. And, I wish that would have been a thing. But it wasn't. And that's not going to change. But I don't really think you can blame her for this. And I don't understand the people that do. I don't understand the same people that, mocked DC for being in tears after, fighting a great fight against Jones and getting caught with a lucky kick. Which, that's the name of the game. That happens. But I don't understand how you mock and belittle these people and Monday morning quarterback them. Like, yeah, we all love watching somebody like Tom Brady sitting on the sidelines pouting after a loss. That's fantastic. Because people don't like him. But when you see a genuine outpour of emotion like that, or you see somebody making a decision that, like, the Bills, like, nobody in the NFL is belittling Eric Wood for retiring when the doctors told him, like, listen, man, like, you're probably, you're not going to get cleared to play, but if you found some doc who'd be like, well, we'll let you play, some team somewhere that needs a center would let him play, and he went, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Nobody would look at him and be like, really, bro? You're taking the wuss's way out and becoming a coach? But meanwhile, these other people who are doing things for their health and like their long-term health are being belittled. People who are showing the emotion like that in the ring are being belittled. I just don't understand it. And it's something that really, really pisses me off and really bothers me. And I've actually gone on about this topic a little bit longer than I thought I would, and a little bit longer than I actually expected to or planned to. So this is probably my last segment. And I think I'm going to leave you guys with this one on this segment. If you've never done it, you've never walked the walk, you've never actually taken those steps, you've never poured your heart and soul into preparation for something. And I'm not even talking about fighting here. I'm talking about, if how do you look at a football player who's dedicated their life to something and then have to walk away from it early, or something along those lines, like, oh, what a wuss, blah, blah, blah. Like, how do you belittle that? How do you look at somebody, like, if you've never put that kind of time, heart, and soul into something, you can't speak on the emotions that come out when you don't succeed in that thing. You just can't. And if you do, I want to see what you're doing with your life. I want to see what you've come back from. I want to see what you've poured your heart and soul into, what you've done to not take the easy way out every chance you get. Because if you're some fat, out of shape piece of garbage who sits on their couch drinking a 12-pack of beer every other day and stuffing your face with a pizza and wings and mounds and mounds and mounds of blue cheese and cookies and cake and crap, and then you sit there and you belittle these people who have dedicated their life to a craft, and you know what, you can sit there and say that they're overpaid and that they're everything else. Anybody who's in the 0.000001 percentile of their profession gets paid in that way. It may not be to that extent, but they outreach everybody else who gets paid to do that. You know, you're the best brain surgeon in the country makes millions. All right, and not even the country. The best brain surgeon in the world is not hard off for cash. All right, the best attorney in the world, not hard off for cash. The best soldiers in the world, you may not know it, but somewhere low-key, these guys are probably somewhat taken care of for the crap that they're able to do. I mean, it's to some extent, it's got to be there somewhere. And again, we're not talking to the multi-million-dollar range that we're talking some of these guys are, like your Jimmy Garoppolo, who just signed that obnoxious contract on 7 starts. I don't know if he's in that percentile. I really don't. He looked fantastic every game he's played in. I just don't know if he's in that percentile to make that much money. However, these guys that are up there in those pay ranges, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. They can have multi-million dollar contracts in a multi-billion dollar industry. Just like the guys on Wall Street. The best of the best in a multi-billion dollar trading scheme, making millions. That's how that works. And if you don't like it, maybe you should have done something to be the 0.00001 percentile of whatever profession you chose to do. Anyway, I got a little off topic there, and I apologize. It just, this whole thing pisses me off that people sit on their couches and just belittle these people for everything and everything they do and every mistake they make and every failure they have. And there's people who actually, like, it lifts their soul to see these people not succeed, and that just bothers me, and I'm sorry. All right, guys, that's the end of my rant on that one. All right, guys, thank you for watching episode 2 of the Jaws of Life. They're a little bit longer than I wanted to, maybe a little bit longer than the last one, maybe by 10 minutes-ish. I think the sweet spot here is about what I'm doing, the little opening and a couple topics. I hope you guys liked it. Give me a watch, give me a follow, share, let your friends know. If you have anything you want to say, get in contact with me. I'm going to try to do a better job of giving contact info where you guys can reach out to me. I'll probably make a Gmail for this, for the Jaws of Life if I don't already have one. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think. And that being said, I am the Nickel City Nightmare, Derek Joswiak. We'll see you next week.